Everyone who is joining us today. And Madam Secretary, would you please read the public notice?
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, everyone. Adequate public notice has been given pursuant to the Open Publics Meetings Act. Notice has been posted on the board's website and has been delivered to the Department of State and to newspapers of broad circulation within the state.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Holden,
Here.
Commissioner Solomon,
Here.
Commissioner Shivakula,
Here.
Commissioner Gordon,
Here.
President Fioraliso.
Here. And our next regularly scheduled meeting, Ada, is?
Our next regular board meeting is scheduled for Friday, June 26, 2020 at 10 a.m. via teleconference.
Thank you. We do have a late starter today on the agenda, which will be addressed at the end of the regular session. This matter is related to certain protocols that are being applied due to the current health emergency. We also have an executive session today, and we'll be addressing the following executive session: audits, letter D, in the matter of the audit of affiliated transactions between South Jersey Gas Company and its affiliates. And we also have a miscellaneous item that is going to be addressed in executive session. And we will be dealing with the audits item 1D in regular session. We will not be taking any action on the miscellaneous item 9A, as it is a litigation update. I estimate that the executive session will last approximately 30 minutes. Will the Attorney General please explain the justification for going into executive session?
Good morning, Commissioners. This is Deputy Attorney General Michael Beck.
Good morning.
Good morning. Item 1B falls within the contract negotiation exception to the Open Public Meetings Act, enumerated at New Jersey Statute 10:4-12B7. With regard to miscellaneous item 9A, that matter falls within the exception for pending litigation and attorney-client privilege, again enumerated at New Jersey Statute 10:4-12B7. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For that, do I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we will be going into executive session. We will be muted on the Zoom call here, and my colleagues and I have a number to call in for executive session. So hopefully we will see you in 30 minutes.
There now.
Okay, everybody else is on. I got a little technical problem there. Sorry for the delay. We are back, everyone, in our regular open session. And I do have some remarks I would like to make before we go into the agenda. I say these remarks from really a heartfelt position. Today, as you well know, is June 10th, and we've been remote for just about 3 months now. Like most of you, if you had told me in February we'd be sitting here like this today, I would have probably tried to have you committed or something, and certainly would not have believed it. You know, we are truly at an unprecedented time in our lives. We've lost over 111,000 Americans, almost 2 million cases of this virus. We've been fighting this together. And now we're also seeing so clearly how much more work our country needs to do to fight racism. The murder of George Floyd by police has been a call, I believe, to action for all of us. Everyone is thinking individually about what they can do to make our country better and more equal for all of us, our fellow citizens. Every fellow citizen of ours deserves that equality. I can say also that the BPU is committed to ensuring a fair, just workplace, and we will try every day to be better than the day before. And I really want to thank and acknowledge Governor Murphy, who has been a wonderful leader throughout this difficult time, both with guiding the state through the COVID crisis and standing with protesters and the Black Lives Matter movement, even while many other politicians fail to recognize the importance of standing up for each other at this crossroads in our country's history. So thank you, Governor, and thank you to the BPU staff for working together and being there for each other. In my video messages to you, I always mention the fact that we are family, and we are. And as family, we're going to get through these crises. And as family, we're going to make not only the BPU better, but the state of New Jersey better and our country better. I look forward to very soon. I wish I could give you a date, but I can't. When we can see one another in person. But let us be committed to fairness, equality, and justice for all Americans. Do any other commissioners wish to make any opening remarks?
This is Commissioner Chivukula. Thank you, Mr. President. I think well said. I think what at this time we need to put our words into action in that we have to look at all our programs and slowly, I don't mean tomorrow, slowly look at the equity issues across the board and see how we are treating the low and moderate income customers because they're hard hit because of the not only the financial situation and not making enough money in spite of working 2-3 jobs, and also there are a lot of disconnects, power energies disconnects are happening in various parts like Camden, which I saw. I brought it to your attention. We need to look at those things, and also a lot of the programs that we are doing and what impact. I think we need to do an impact analysis on the low and moderate income customers on every program that, if it is possible, we should analyze that. So that way, whether it's electric vehicle charging or whether it is rebates for electric vehicles, all those programs have to be looked at, and then we really do true justice and put our words into action. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I'll be addressing that issue that you just brought up a little later on in the meeting. Those are great comments, and I appreciate them. Thank you. Anyone else have any opening statement? Hearing none, we will now proceed with the regular agenda. And first up is audits. And Alice, you're presenting for audits. So you're up, Alice, starting with 1A. And let's hear about it.
Mr. President, may I interrupt for a quick second?
Sure. Did I do something wrong?
Can we submit?
Oh, the consent agenda.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, Ada. I'm sorry.
That's okay. On the following consent agenda items, 1A, 1B, 1C, 2A, 3A, 5A, and 9A.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Thank you, Ada.
No problem.
Now, Alice. 1A, Alice. Are you on mute, Alice? Alice, are you on mute?
President, she is on mute. I'm trying to unmute her. Alice, if you can try to unmute yourself, I think we might be unmuting simultaneously. Alice, if you hold your space bar down, you should be able to unmute yourself. Just hold your space bar down to talk.
Christine, I think she's on a phone. I don't know whether she's on Zoom.
I see her as on Zoom. Alice, maybe you could sign out and sign back in.
Okay, while we're waiting for Alice, let's go on to energy. I think there's only one item in energy.
Good morning, Commissioners. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Stacy.
Okay. Agenda item 2A relates to the final report submitted by Bates White for the 2020 Basic Generation Service Auctions. Staff has determined that with the submittal of its final report, the contractual obligations of Bates White to the board regarding the review and oversight of the auction process for the supply period beginning June 1 of 2020 has been fulfilled. The report has been reviewed by the Energy Division and has been found to be complete. Staff recommends that the Bates White report be accepted for filing by the board and that the redacted version be made available to the public via the board's website. Staff also recommends the board direct the Division of Treasury to provide final payment to Bates White for its work on the 2020 BGS auction.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments for Stacy? If not, roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Cable television has no items for consideration. Telecom, no items. Water, no items. Reliability and security, no items. Let's go back to audits. Alice, are you back on?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Very
Let's
good.
start with 1A, please.
Okay. Before you this morning is Agenda 1A involving a registrant who failed to comply with certain provisions of NJSA 48:3-78 and the New Jersey Administrative Code NJAC 14:4-1.1 etc. Energy Auction Exchange LLC continued to operate as a registrant after their registration expired due to not filing a renewal application
prior to their registration expiration date. In order to resolve the matter of the violation, Energy Auction Exchange filed an offer of settlement of $1,771 with the board for approval. In addition, Energy Auction Exchange LLC filed an initial application to be an energy agent and a private aggregator for approval. This agenda item therefore involves two separate matters on which you will vote. Staff believes that the offer of settlement is reasonable based upon the alleged violations for the company and recommends that the board accept the offer of settlement pro-offered by Energy Auction Exchange, subject to the conditions set forth in the respective settlement offers and draft orders. Given that there are no investigations pending with regard to Energy Auction Exchange LLC service being provided in New Jersey, staff recommends that the board approve the initial registration application for Energy Auction Exchange to be an energy agent and private aggregator.
All right,
I'll move
I'm sorry, go on, Mariana, I'm sorry.
I move the approval of the settlement with Energy Auction Exchange LLC.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation to accept Energy Auction Exchange LLC offer of settlement, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes, now for the registration, do we have a motion?
I move that we accept the initial registration of Energy Auction Exchange.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation to accept Energy Auction Exchange LLC initial registration, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. That brings us to 1B, a similar matter. Alice?
Yes, it is a similar matter. It involves another registrant, Sable Power and Gas LLC, who also failed to comply with certain provisions of our statutes 48:3-78 and our administrative code 14:4-1.1 et cetera. Sable Power and Gas continue to operate as a registrant after their registration has expired due to not filing a renewal application prior to their expiration. In order to resolve the matter, Sable Power and Gas filed an offer of settlement of $4,400 with the board for approval. In addition, they also filed an initial application to be an energy agent for approval. This agenda matter also involves two separate matters on which you will vote. Staff believes that the offer of settlement is reasonable and based upon the alleged violations of the company and recommends that the board accept the offer of settlement, subject to the conditions set forth in the respective settlement offer and draft orders. In addition to that, staff recommends, and given that there are no investigations pending with Sable Power and Gas, with their service being provided in New Jersey, we recommend approval of the initial registration application to be an energy agent.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to accept the offer?
I move the acceptance of the offer of settlement of Sable Power and Gas.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation to accept Sable Power and Gas LLC offer of settlement, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. For the registration renewal?
I move the initial registration of Sable Power and Gas LLC.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation to accept Sable Power and Gas LLC initial registration, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. And that brings us down then to 1C regarding our Universal Service Fund and the Department of Community Affairs, Alice.
Yes, before you today is a matter concerning the administrative costs submitted by the Department of Community Affairs for fiscal year 2019 for the Universal Service Fund program. On May 5th, 2020, DCA, referring to Department of Community Affairs, submitted a detailed USF administrative report for fiscal year 2019, which listed actual expenditures of $6,094,175, representing a $305,830, or 4.8% less than the budgeted authorization of $6,400,005, approved by the board on August 29th of 2018 for fiscal year 2019. The overcollection primarily was the result of over budgeting on postage and labor costs. Staff has reviewed Department of Community Affairs expenses and found that the costs listed therein appear to be appropriate, reasonable, and necessary for the administration of the USF program. Therefore, staff recommends that the board find that the Department of Community Affairs has adequately justified its fiscal year 2019 USF administrative expenditures and authorize the Department of Treasury to reimburse the Department of Community Affairs in the amount of $6,094,175.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? Comments? Roll call?
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. And that brings us to 1D, which we discussed in executive session, Alice.
Yes. So before you today in this matter involves the commencement of the audit of affiliated transactions of South Jersey Gas, its parent, affiliates, and subsidiaries, comprehensive management audit, and an audit of their payroll department. Specifically before you today is the selection of the auditor. The Division of Audits received bid proposals from Silver Point Consulting, Sage Management Consultants, Schumacher and Company, the Liberty Consulting Group, and Salaby Consulting. The sixth firm, North Star Consulting Group, and seventh firm, Overland Consulting, advised staff in writing that they would not bid on this project. The bids range from a low of $598,080 to a high of $1,134,028. The voting committee, which was comprised of representatives from Audits, the Division of Energy, and Counsel's Office, has reviewed the bid proposals. Staff is recommending Sage at a not-to-exceed price of $598,080. The basis for the selection is in the evaluation committee report. Staff further requests that the board authorize President Fiordaliso to execute a consulting agreement with Sage consistent with the proposed attached agreement. In the event that Sage may seek, if in the future, any substantive modifications to the proposed attached agreement, staff will come back to the board for consideration of those modifications.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Thank you very much, Alice.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, you too. We've already done energy, and that brings us down to number 7, customer assistance and a billing dispute. How unusual, Julie.
I know, right? Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Before you, 7A is a billing dispute between Gertrude Homes and Public Service Electric and Gas Company. Ms. Holmes alleged that PSE&G incorrectly billed her, and PSE&G responded that she was billed with the in accordance with the terms and conditions of their tariffs. On November 27th, the parties entered into an oral settlement. On the record, an adjuster of good faith, PSE&G agreed to reduce the amount owed from $7,562 to $3,361, and Ms. Holmes was to pay that at $70 per month in addition to her regular bill. On August 20th, after waiting to close out the matter, Ms. Holmes informed ALJ that she would not sign the settlement. So PSE&G filed for a motion for summary decision. The parties again acknowledged that the settlement from November 27, 2018 was still valid. And the ALJ approved that settlement would still stand, and determined that the settlement still stands, and that the only thing addition, they would add a modification to give her a 10-day grace period to pay her bills. So the staff is recommending that the board adopt the initial decision with the modification of the grace period. And I also notes that the customer got over a 60% discount.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions, comments for Julie?
It's a nice,
Just
yeah.
Go ahead, Upendra.
No, it's okay. I yield.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, especially in this time where, we've asked the utilities to, suspend on collections and disruption to service, that even, on a regular basis, there are adjustments that are made by our utilities to try to, work with ratepayers on their bills. And then, that's a standard operating procedure, and we should take note of that and, give some credit where credit's due for, how they conduct their businesses, even if, when COVID's not in effect. So I just wanted to highlight that.
Thank you. Upendra?
Yeah, I just want to say, Julie, you did a great job in terms of, I think the customer really made out in getting 60% reduction. So that's great. Yeah. Okay.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think it's important, excuse me, Julie, I'm sorry. I think it's important what Commissioner Solomon mentioned. The utilities have been very cooperative during this pandemic, and have volunteered more than once to try to alleviate some of the pain that too many of our fellow citizens are experiencing. So I think that is a great point you brought up, and one that should not be overlooked.
Yes, Commissioner, I just want to note also in support of that my staff have been working and getting, working with complaints and things, and the utilities have been very, very cooperative, and no pushback, nothing. Everything that needs to be done is being done. So they're really doing a really commemorative job.
Great, that's good to hear, Julie. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You have a good day and stay safe.
You too, thank you.
Okay. All right, that brings us to clean energy. And
Mr.
You got to
President,
vote on it.
oh, we didn't vote yet. Okay, let's do that. Why don't we?
on the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes, and it is very good to vote on items brought before us. I agree. Thank you. Now we go to clean energy. And Ariane, you're presenting the first three items, I see.
Yes, I am.
Why don't we start with 8A?
All right.
It's a
Good morning,
storage
Mr. President. Commissioners.
I'm
Item
sorry,
8.
go on.
Item 8A is in the matter of a New Jersey solar transition, specifically a motion for reconsideration submitted by Atlantic County Utilities Authority. On December 6th, 2019, the board issued the transition incentive order that approved the first of two new solar incentive programs designed to implement the Clean Energy Act of 2018's requirements to transition away from the legacy SREC program. The transition incentive program established a new fixed price for transition renewable energy certificates, known as TRECs. TRECs were assigned different factors that determined the level of incentive for different types of projects, and community solar projects were assigned a TREC factor of 0.85. On December 30th, 2019, the Atlantic County Utilities Authority filed a motion for reconsideration of the board's transition incentive order. Specifically, ACUA asked the board to create a new TREC factor of 1.2 for community solar projects that will serve only low and moderate income customers. The transition incentive program, as you are aware, was the culmination of an iterative process based on an in-depth cost build-up model and robust stakeholder engagement. In the motion for reconsideration, ACUA failed to provide substantiating data, calculations, or analysis, and staff does not believe that ACUA made compelling arguments for creating a new higher TREC factor for all LMI community solar projects. Therefore, staff is recommending that the board deny the motion for reconsideration.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments?
Yeah, Mr. President, I just have a question. Ariane,
Sure.
I know you provided us during the briefing that ACUA has not provided any data that substantiate that they have overwhelming customers with 100% income issue. So I mean, they haven't, and also they did not provide any comments, and this process has been going on for more than a year now. So I agree with you.
Thank you. That's all correct.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
It's Mariana Holden. I concur. And not only that, but they didn't even come up with data on how they decided that 1.2 was the factor that should be used.
Yep. Good point. Any other comments or questions? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. And we have a similar situation in 8B. Ariane?
Yes, we do. 8B is also a motion for reconsideration of the December 6th, 2019 transition incentive order. On December 27th, 2019, the New Jersey School Boards Association filed a motion for reconsideration of the board's transition incentive order. Specifically, the School Boards Association is asking that the board increase the TREC factor assigned to net metered non-residential ground-mounted projects from the current factor of 0.6 to a factor of 1.0. As discussed previously, the transition incentive program was designed based on substantial modeling and stakeholder engagement. The School Boards Association did not provide in their motion substantiating data, calculations, or analysis, and staff does not believe that the School Boards Association made compelling arguments for increasing the factor for net metered non-residential ground-mounted projects. In their motion, the School Boards Association did not provide any proof of the assertion that school districts will not develop solar projects under the existing TREC factor. Staff also notes that the reconsideration sought on behalf of school boards would impact all net metered non-residential ground-mounted solar project development in the transition incentive program. Staff is therefore recommending that the board deny the motion for reconsideration.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments?
Yeah, Mr. President, I think it's similar case. I think they have not even provided any data either. They haven't rendered any comments earlier.
Correct. Yep. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. And 8C also involves the Atlantic County Utilities Authority. Ariane?
Yes, that is correct. This is in the matter of the New Jersey Community Solar Energy Pilot Program. So on December 20th, 2019, the board issued an order granting conditional approval to 45 community solar projects in program year 1 of the Community Solar Energy Pilot Program. One of these 45 projects was a 2 megawatt DC community solar project submitted by the Atlantic County Utilities Authority to be located in Egg Harbor Township. As part of the original application, ACUA had requested a waiver of specific community solar rules, NJAC 14:8-9.10B1I, which are rules pertaining to community solar customer acquisition and consumer protection. The section of the community solar rules in question requires that customers can only be signed up for a community solar project if they provide their affirmative consent via either a wet ink signature or an electronic signature. In the same order that granted conditional approval to the ACUA project, the board denied ACUA's request for a waiver of the aforementioned rules. On January 15th, 2020, ACUA filed a motion for reconsideration of the board's community solar order. Specifically, ACUA asked the board to reconsider its denial of ACUA's request for a waiver. ACUA's motion for reconsideration included a number of arguments in support of the waiver request. Staff does not believe that the motion presents new facts that would support reconsideration of the board's prior decision. The requirement for a wet ink or electronic signature to ensure that the subscriber has actually assented to becoming a community solar subscriber is a longstanding practice of the board to cut down on the incidence of slamming. The current community solar rules do not provide a framework within which an opt-out model of customer acquisition, as is requested by ACUA, be implemented in a manner that is sufficiently protective of customers. Staff is recommending that the board deny the motion for reconsideration. Staff notes that this would not necessarily preclude the opt-out model from being explored as a possible modification in future years to support low and moderate income access to community solar, nor would it preclude current projects from benefiting from any changes made to the pilot program in later years. Therefore, staff is recommending that the board deny the motion for reconsideration.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments?
Yeah, Mr. President, this is Commissioner Chibukula. Under these conditions like pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic and all that, how hard it is to get a wet signature, Arya?
It certainly would make getting a physical wet signature more complicated.
Right. So
the COVID has delayed development of community solar projects more generally.
Right.
And so in many circumstances, and certainly in the case of the ACUA project, they are not yet in a position where they would be signing up customers.
Okay, thank you.
And it's Mariana Holden. Given the governor's latest order in trying to reopen the economy, I think given the proper procedures and public health issues and warnings taken into effect, you can do that door-to-door campaign if you had to, and to be able to get, I love that term, wet signature. Makes me want to grab my ink pot and quill pen. But there are other options. There is the electronic option also that's available.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, just one, and as Ariane mentioned, I know there's been a lot of suggestions since we instituted the pilot program, and it's not to say that we won't consider these things in the future, but we do have a process moving forward, to tweak the program as needed, and certainly a consideration when we were instituting the community solar project was with a particular eye for low and moderate income. So, all these considerations, that's not to say, we didn't think of these things or they didn't come to the fore, but, it was a population that we did give particular attention to.
Indeed, we did. And we try to do that with all of our projects and programs that we have. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Thank you very much, Ariane. Kelly, you're up to present the eagerly awaited energy efficiency straw proposal. And it is eagerly awaited by, as we know, an awful lot of segments of our population. So it's all on you, Kelly.
No pressure.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Commissioners. Good morning. Item D refers to the energy efficiency transition, as you mentioned. On May 23rd, 2018, Governor Murphy signed into law the Clean Energy Act, which, along with advancing other clean energy strategies, established aggressive energy reduction requirements. Energy efficiency helps to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and mitigates climate impacts while bolstering the economy. These projects are labor intensive. While energy efficiency already employs 36,000 people in New Jersey also ranks near the bottom of the US states in energy efficiency jobs per capita. The robust goals of the Clean Energy Act and this energy efficiency transition are expected to spur substantial growth in energy efficiency jobs. In addition to creating thousands of green jobs, energy efficiency also provides long-term benefits for program participants, such as reducing utility bills and improving health, comfort, and safety. The energy efficiency framework recommended by staff today will chart a course towards achieving some of the highest savings in the country. The Clean Energy Act directs the board to require each electric and gas public utility to develop programs that reduce the use of electricity and natural gas in its service territory. The Act requires the board to complete a study to determine energy savings targets for each utility and the time frame to achieve those reductions. The Act further requires the board to adopt quantitative performance indicators to establish utility targets for energy usage reduction. The Act also requires the board to establish a stakeholder process, and as part of that process, the Act directed the board to establish an independent advisory group charged with studying the evaluation, measurement, and verification process for the programs. Importantly, the Clean Energy Act also calls for the board to adopt programs that, quote, ensure universal access to energy efficiency measures and serve the needs of low-income communities, end quote. This framework for the next generation of programs seeks to reduce the inequity currently experienced by groups and individuals across New Jersey who disproportionately lack access to energy-efficient housing, appliances, and technologies. The lack of access is often reflected in the household's energy burden. Research has shown that the average low-income household devotes more than 3 times more of their income to energy bills than the average higher-income households. Families who face higher energy burdens experience many long-term effects, a reality that's certainly been exacerbated by the recent pandemic. Energy efficiency must be integrated seamlessly with other government efforts to promote public health, safety, and comfort, including but not limited to weatherization, lead removal, and improving household determinants of residents' health. A holistic program that coordinates the delivery of multiple services to New Jersey residents with lower barriers to entry can begin to address systemic inequities. New Jersey's next generation of energy efficiency will play a central role in rising to meet the challenge of the climate crisis while providing significant benefits to residents and businesses throughout the state and growing a clean energy workforce. In order to achieve the robust goals of the Act, staff recommends a transition in the framework for energy efficiency to continue New Jersey's path to 100% clean energy by 2050. Board staff has been working on an energy efficiency transition as required by the Clean Energy Act for over the last year and a half, with particular intensity in the last 10 months. Staff has engaged in extensive process in order to fully engage stakeholders, seek input from experts, research and evaluate best practices, and ultimately to recommend a framework for delivering best-in-class energy efficiency and peak demand reduction programs. The BPU has also focused on issues of equity and access to programs and measures, as well as local workforce development as critical components of addressing long-term market barriers to program adoption. A full listing of all 15 stakeholder and technical meetings, as well as comments received during the stakeholder process, can be found on the Clean Energy website. This extensive public input received through the transition process was of great value in understanding stakeholder perspectives and priorities. That input was instrumental in the formulation of 3 draft proposals, a full straw proposal, and staff's recommendations today. Staff submits the following recommendations for board's consideration. To increase adoption and to limit contractor confusion, staff recommends that the utilities administer a suite of core programs that serve the existing residential, commercial and industrial, and multifamily sectors. These core programs must be consistently available throughout the state and include coordinated and common program elements. The utilities will also be required to propose a peak demand program to commence by program year 4. For all utility programs, staff recommends the following common elements: customer access to their data, on-bill or third-party financing options, and workforce development and job training partnerships and pipelines. Staff recommends allowing flexibility for utilities to propose additional initiatives and program pilots, and also in adjustments to utility-led program budgets and incentives in order to ensure that programs are sufficiently nimble to respond to opportunities and market changes and capture increased energy savings. Staff recommends state administration of new construction in the residential, commercial and industrial and multifamily sectors. Staff also recommends the state continue to administer the comprehensive large energy users program, combined heat and power program, and state and local government programs. Staff recommends the state and the utilities continue to co-manage the low-income Comfort Partners program. Staff recommends establishing energy use reduction targets for programs years 2, 3, 4, and 5, with years 4 and 5 preliminary, and for utilities to report on energy use reduction each program year. Staff recommends commencing year 2 to allow opportunity for a smooth transition in administration of the programs. Staff recommends the board set year 5 preliminary targets for energy reduction at 2.15% for EDCs and 1.10% for GDCs, as supported by the market potential study.
I can learn to understand you much better if I can get familiar with the way you
but calls for the commissioning of an updated market potential study before the triennial review to further elucidate the potential for energy savings in each utility territory. Staff recommends the establishment of 7 metrics to ensure achievement of core policy objectives of the state beyond annual savings reductions, and recommends that these metrics be evaluated and updated every 3 years. Staff further recommends that greenhouse gas emission reduction be considered at the triennial review, consistent with other state clean energy goals. Staff recommends penalties and incentives not apply until year 5, and that the board be permitted to waive penalties to account for potential unforeseen circumstances which would prohibit the achievement of energy savings targets. Staff recommends that the board direct utilities to include annual quantitative performance indicator values for established targets in their program filings. Staff recommends amortization of program investments over a 10-year period and using the capital structure established in the utility's most recent base rate case for program investments, incorporating both the cost of debt and the return on equity with no basis point reduction on the ROE. Staff recommends the 10-year amortization period to limit rate shock for ratepayers and to ensure the cost of the programs more accurately track with the life of the measures. Staff recommends no reduction on the ROE, noting that energy efficiency measures and investments should be set on a level playing field with other utility investments. Staff recommends the utilities, staff, and rate council work to develop a modified conservation incentive program that could be applicable to all of the state's electric distribution companies and gas distribution companies for filing. If there's no agreement on a modified SIP, staff recommends that the LRAM, as described, be the lost recovery revenue mechanism. Staff recommends using an ROE adjustment for the performance incentive and penalty. For achievement up to 150% over the neutral band of 90 to 110%, and up to 50 basis point incentives shall be granted, scaled in a linear fashion. For achievement below 90% down to 50%, a 200 basis point penalty shall be meted out, scaled in a linear fashion. If the utility fails to reach 50% of the target, staff recommends that be deemed non-compliant and assessed a penalty of 0.75% of the base rate distribution revenue from the previous year. Staff recommends using net savings for all aspects of program review, including compliance and cost effectiveness testing, and a net to gross value of 1.0 for all programs until a New Jersey specific net to gross value can be established. Staff recommends development of a New Jersey cost test to be used as the primary cost effectiveness test to evaluate energy efficiency and peak demand programs. Staff recommends utilizing the total resource cost test modified with symmetrical non-energy benefits as the interim New Jersey cost test in the first 3-year program cycle. Staff also recommends the use of the 5 existing cost effectiveness tests for information purposes. Staff recommends the board engage a statewide evaluator to facilitate the evaluation, measurement, and verification working group, review EM&V studies, methods and assumptions, and perform other activities as defined by the staff and recommended by the working group. Staff recommends revisions to the minimum filing requirements for quarterly, annual, and triennial progress reports, and directs staff to engage a contractor to administer a statewide tracking system for energy efficiency and peak demand reduction programs. Staff recommends a triennial review process to review and establish performance metrics and targets, cost recovery mechanisms, program administration and design, and cost to achieve budgets. Staff, recognizing that the Energy Efficiency Advisory Group as currently constituted has satisfied its requirements under the Clean Energy Act, recommends an expansion of the Energy Efficiency Advisory Group to include the Workforce Development Working Group, an Equity Working Group, including Comfort Partners and multifamily subcommittees, an EM&V Working Group, including an Energy Codes and Standards Subcommittee, and a Marketing Working Group. Finally, staff focused considerable effort to highlight and seek to address systemic and structural equity issues in program design and delivery. To that end, staff heard from stakeholders that it was critical to make programs and progress more transparent and eligibility and enrollment easier, ensure consumer protections and access to data, integrate a focus on health and safety to reduce deferrals from programs, ensure jobs were local and reflective of the communities they serve, establish strong program oversight and accountability to goals, and ramp up funding for low-income programs so it's on par to reach the new goals. To begin to address these issues, staff recommends a number of critical program components, including the following: materials for all programs in languages in addition to English, including Spanish; LMI, automatic eligibility, including expansion to include alternatives to income criteria, such as census tract; financing, including on-bill or financing addressed by third parties; customer data access and ownership by the customer; co-managed Comfort Partners program to continue to provide energy efficiency upgrades at no cost to the participants; utilities required to provide other non-competing low-income and moderate-income programs; competitive contracting opportunities to encourage supplier diversity, requiring collaboration to develop a ranking or prioritization process to encourage diverse contractors; vocational and community college-based education to develop a workforce pipeline; local workforce development focused on LMI communities; the establishment of the Equity Working Group, which includes the subcommittees mentioned previously; the establishment of the Workforce Development Working Group, and a contractor mentorship program to encourage establishment and growth of a diverse contract pool. The state will coordinate with other agencies in a whole home approach to address barriers to participation, including weatherization, lead remediation, and other health and safety issues. BPU will also work with the Department of Labor and Workforce Development and other agencies to build a robust energy efficiency workforce training program, including community-based organizations for training. Low-income minimum spend will be considered at the triennial review. There are also other program components aimed at addressing historical equity issues, including enhanced requiring reporting and measurement of performance, including for performance incentives. To sum up, the transition recommendations are designed to best position New Jersey to achieve its energy use reduction and clean energy goals, including greenhouse gas emission reduction goals, while simultaneously promoting other core policy objectives, including cost effectiveness, equitable access, multiple benefits for low-income communities and customers, reasonable rates, reductions in energy bills, and the achievement of comprehensive and long-lasting energy savings. The program recommendations aim to increase access to programs for all New Jersey residents and businesses, regardless of geographic location. The recommendations are designed to reduce cost, including administrative costs for energy saved through reliable and consistent program delivery. Finally, the recommendations seek to expand job opportunities and economic benefits of energy efficiency, particularly in low and moderate income communities. With that, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to present the recommendations. I'm happy to answer any questions.
I'll move the recommendations wholeheartedly. Staff.
Second.
Second, okay. Questions, comments?
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
Bob Gordon here. I just would like to commend Kelly and her team for just a phenomenal job in developing a very complex program. There's no doubt that we're breaking a lot of new ground here, where we're trying to do things that I believe haven't been tried elsewhere in the country. And I do believe that we have the opportunity to become national leaders in energy efficiency programs. I think it's also highly likely that we won't get everything right this first time, but I want to commend the staff for actually building in a process to facilitate mid-course corrections if they become necessary. And I just want to thank them for doing a great job and looking forward to staying involved with this in the months ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Oh, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
This is Commissioner Chibukula. Kelly, and I concur with Commissioner Gordon's comments that you and your team did an excellent, outstanding job. I'm quite impressed with that. I just received a lot of correspondence regarding this amortization issue. I know we moved from 7 years to 10 years, and there's a push out there for 15 years. A couple of thoughts came to my mind. One is you don't have to answer them if you can answer them now or later, but just by extending it to 15 years, will that have a job impact? Because you're stretching it out another 5 years, and that's one thing. The second thing is that because with all this pandemic situation, incomes are affected. With that, stretching it for 5 more years, will that have an impact on affordability? And the third thing is that because you are, because this the online on-bill payment is at a very nominal percentage interest, and if more access to more programs, energy efficiency programs will be available. So these are the thoughts that crossed through my mind when I was reading those correspondences. I just wanted to just make it public what's going on in my head. Thank you.
Kelly, are you gonna?
I can, if you'd like, through the president. I'm happy to respond. If
Otherwise, I was just gonna pile on here with my compliments. The program over the 9 years I've been on the board, this is the most comprehensive, well thought out attack, if you will. Energy efficiency has always been top in my mind, and I've heard President Fiordaliso say this many times, the cheapest form of energy is that which you don't use. I'm really very, very excited about the structure that you've put in place, which this department has lacked, I think, or this section has lacked for some time. And I am always a champion, of Comfort Partners, and I'm very happy to see the look toward a building workforce development. I believe at the beginning of this whole COVID pandemic stay at home, there were 38,000 jobs that were affected. because people weren't able to work on energy efficiency. And it was nice that the governor was able to open up a little bit and open up a little bit so that we were able to get some of those jobs back online. But just the limited programming that we've had shows you the workforce potential. And, I like the, particularly as Comfort Partners in some cases has done, is provided training right in neighborhoods. So people are learning these skills right where they live, and maybe they grow into a business. So thank you very much for getting your arms around this and being very collaborative, working with all stakeholders, not just the utilities. Thank you.
I also have some comments to make, Joe.
Sure.
I also wanted to thank you, Kelly, for your efforts and your team and how you work with the commissioners and all stakeholders to listen to their concerns. And, I can individually say that I know that there were comments that different commissioners brought back to you when you reworked, and really shows an appreciation and a cooperative effort. And moving forward, because this is such an important program and initiative for New Jersey, I really appreciate that this is also a very New Jersey-centric proposal. There's things that we have found in terms of energy efficiency that we liked and have worked, and other areas that have been highlighted over the years where we needed to make changes. And I think there was a real effort to bring a New Jersey slant and direction to this proposal. And I also appreciate the fact that this is just the beginning. And I think everybody looking at this proposal will agree that this is just a start to where we want to go in terms of the board and spending money on initiatives and programs and ideas. This all commissioners agree. In terms of dollars, this is where we should be starting first in terms of getting our energy efficiency needs under control. And it also highlights the continued need that we have, and having even more so a good working relationship with our utilities moving forwards, because we're going to have to continue to have that dialogue and a continued cooperation if we want this program to be a success, especially in light of how this program is structured. So I look forward to moving that forward, and again, commend you and your staff on this proposal.
Thank you. Kelly, did you want to answer Commissioner Shivakula's questions?
I'm happy to do so, Mr. President, and thank you, commissioners, for your kind comments on this team effort. It has been very useful. There are a lot of folks involved in this, and it was an extensive process, and we are particularly appreciative of your engagement and all of the stakeholders for their thoughtful participation. To respond to Commissioner Shivakula, certainly understand those comments. In relation to your job impact comment, we don't believe that the extension of amortization from 7 to 10 years, or a potential increase from 10 years to 15 years, would have a significant impact on jobs. 5 years more would impact the long-term cost of the programs. So we attempted to balance all of the costs associated with the amortization and cost recovery and the cost of the programs, to ensure that we were balanced in terms of making sure that the impact on ratepayers was attended to. And also, we certainly were, in light of the current situation, particularly very attentive to the rate impact, which was the reason for our recommendation to change from a 7 to 10-year amortization. Additionally, we wanted to make sure that we more accurately tracked the life of the program, the life of the programs and measures with the cost associated with those programs. But for every increase in terms of amortization, there is an overall increase in the project, similar to the difference perhaps between a 15-year and a 30-year mortgage, which is how I think of it. On-bill payment and financing is a critical component of access to programs. We heard that time and time again from stakeholders. And so that was something that staff embeds in the recommendations to ensure that folks are able to have access to all of those programs. Just a quick response to Commissioner Holden's comments. We really see job opportunity as a real possibility here in getting New Jersey back to work. There's a lot of opportunity in energy efficiency, as our goals will certainly increase here with the Clean Energy Act requirements, and a lot of opportunity for us to make sure that those jobs are in local communities that can go back and deliver to those communities as well. And certainly appreciate very much Commissioner Solomon's comments about the importance of energy efficiency. It is the cheapest and the easiest, and certainly something that needs to be adopted in terms of our addressing the 2050 emission reduction and decarbonization goals, something that needs to be integrated as it reduces investments in new generation capacity and transmission expansion and saves ratepayer dollars.
Thank you, Kelly. I'm going to have some more comments after the vote, but I just wanted to initially also thank you and your team. This is one of the most professional presentations and proposals that I have seen in my years on the board. I think it tried to incorporate successfully, I might add, the concerns of the stakeholders, and we had an exhaustive number of stakeholder meetings and opportunities for people to voice their opinion, give their suggestions regarding energy efficiency. And energy efficiency became a hot topic in the last few weeks, and one that I believe, once people read the order, and how many pages is that order again, Kelly?
Well, the order itself is only 48 pages, but the entire document is about 90.
About 90, okay. Once they get through that in about 4 years, they can, that was a joke, they can see, I think, as we have seen, how it incorporates so many aspects and so many well thought out plans and ideas regarding energy efficiency. I think for the most part, people are going to be more than satisfied with what has been presented here today. And that's a tribute to you and your team. And the BPU, over the past couple of years, has a good story to tell. One that can make us all proud as part of a team and a family, moving an agenda that not only is going to make our lives better, it's going to make our lives healthier. It's going to create jobs. And we're willing to work with every segment of state government and every stakeholder group to enforce a better New Jersey. And that, again, is a tribute to you and your staff. I am so proud to be the president of this agency because of the people like you and your staff and throughout the BPU. Whether we're talking about the energy division, reliability and security, whether we're talking about IT, whether we're talking about audits, whether we're talking about telecom, whether we're talking about cable, whether we're talking about water, we can be proud of every segment. And as Commissioner Gordon said, we're not going to be right the first time. And that's the beauty of programs like this, because it gives us an opportunity, as Commissioner Solomon mentioned, to tweak the program, to make it better, to see if we maybe did make a mistake somewhere along the way. And we're certainly big enough to admit if we have. So I think this program is a model. And I agree, that's going to be a model for the entire country. And it impresses me so much more to think that we have accomplished something like this. We have accomplished and moving forward with other initiatives. And we haven't been in the office for 3 months. Have not been in the office for 3 months. And the wheels of the BPU continue to turn. And that's a tribute to everyone. So thank you, everyone. There are no other comments. There are no other questions. Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. I am pleased to be a part of this unanimous vote and on energy efficiency and peak demand reduction. Not just because they will transition New Jersey to some of the highest energy savings in the country, but because of the priority we placed on making sure they met Governor Murphy's commitment of fairness and equal opportunity for all New Jerseyans. We wanted, in particular, to move, which all of our programs are intended to do, include, affords the opportunity and the benefits to all communities. And it's possible when we work together to achieve that goal. You heard the word equity mentioned many times during Kelly's presentation. And these programs are meant to do just that. As was mentioned, our staff engaged in significant stakeholder input during the process, including 15, let me say that again, 15 public meetings and numerous straw proposals over the last 16 months. We collectively listened. We took feedback. We understood the community's priorities. And I'm proud to say that these programs will create thousands of green jobs, and many of them focused in our low and moderate income communities, and will have long-term benefits for participants, such as reducing utility bills, improving health, comfort, and safety. I mentioned earlier that the BPU is striving to do better when it comes to focusing on equity. All of our programs are intended to be equitable. And I'm also very proud to announce, in keeping in line with that, to ensure the fact that all of our programs are equitable and are meeting our stated goals. I'm proud to announce that I intend to create an Office of Clean Energy Equity that will be responsible for overseeing the equitable deployment of clean energy technologies and energy efficiency programs in New Jersey's overburdened community. We will soon begin a search for a candidate for this important new role, and he or she will also serve as a liaison to those communities. I will have more details regarding this in weeks to come, and I am very excited about this. One of the things over the past couple of years that we have instituted is to evaluate the effectiveness of our programs. Are we achieving the goals that we want to achieve? Are we making the advancements we want to make? And this office will be just another step in ensuring the fact that all communities are included in the clean energy revolution. I would like to acknowledge again Governor Murphy for his commitment to fairness and equity. I would also like to acknowledge Senator Ron Rice, chair of the New Jersey Legislative Black Caucus, Senator Nellie Poe, chair of the New Jersey Legislative Latino Caucus, and Senator Troy Singleton for their leadership on issues surrounding energy equity. I thank the BPU staff and my colleagues in particular who worked tirelessly on making these programs what they are. The support of my colleagues obviously is vital. The hard work by our staff is never overlooked. And as I said before, even during these 3 months of working remotely, the wheels of the BPU continue to turn. And I want to thank also the stakeholders and the community leaders who have provided the valuable feedback that helped shape these programs. So thank you to everyone. And we stand ready. I stand ready to be held accountable for the success of these programs. Thank you for listening and indulging me. That brings us to item 9. Brandon, do you want to say anything under miscellaneous item 9? It was discussed in executive session and no action is required. Is there anything we should say about it or just what I said?
What you said sounds good to me, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you very, very much. That brings us to late starter A. And presenting late starter A, Bob Brafston.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, commissioners. And it's an honor for me to follow that momentous vote. And it's been a privilege to work with the team and try to contribute to getting it where it is. But as you said, the wheels of the board keep rolling. And today we have some business to help support the governor's continued efforts to reopen the state. Commissioners, as you all recall, when we went fully remote in March, we had an emergency meeting on March 19th to implement, among other things, restrictions on certain activities, including non-emergency work in homes and businesses by utilities and utility contractors. In May, consistent with the governor's executive orders, including Executive Order 142, some of those restrictions were relaxed. And in keeping with what the governor has done since then, including the issuance of Executive Order 151 on June 9th, staff is recommending that the board continue to relax certain restrictions on activities, but we note that at all times, the board's actions have required utilities and utility contractors to continue to adhere to New Jersey Department of Health and CDC guidelines for social distancing and use of appropriate PPE. The order you're presented with today would allow, would end the restriction on door-to-door sales that was set forth in the March 19th order, but would continue to require that those activities comply with the appropriate health and safety measures I just mentioned. And I think it's not a coincidence that this sort of dovetails with the discussion that we had under the solar items. those activities where wet signatures are sought may continue. So I'm happy to answer any questions on staff's recommendation.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, questions or comments for Bob? Hearing none, roll call, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. That ends our agenda. I want to thank everyone who joined us today. I ask that you stay safe and stay healthy as we continue to battle this pandemic. Hopefully, sooner than later, we might be able to see one another person to person again. If there are no other items or comments by my colleagues, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes? Anybody else in favor?
Yes.
Yes,
Hi.
I'm all for that.
All right. We are adjourned. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.